Afternoon, sorry, good evening, lads. Sorry, I'm Peter. I'm joined the show tonight by Mark and Darragh, and as usual with United, there is more to discuss off the pitch than on the pitch. So we're going to get into all of it, and I don't think there's any other place to start than the latest off-field incident at United with Marcus Rashford. Obviously, everyone's seen the news or the alleged news that he was out in Belfast for 2 nights and then called in sick for training. And obviously didn't play against Newport on Sunday. And since then, it's come out that he's had showdown talks with Eric Ten Hag and other members of the club. And rumours circling around that he's been fined 2 weeks' wages, but the club have tried to draw a line under it and have said he's back in the squad for Thursday. So, yeah, I'll jump up to you, Darragh, first. What do you make of the whole situation from start to finish, and like where do you see us going next with Rashford?
Simply to start, I mean, it comes across very unprofessional, really, because when you break it down, the last game before Newport was Spurs, and when you break that down, then you're there like, okay, that's about a week and a half, 2 week off. What else would he be doing in that time frame? Like, it just doesn't look good, in my opinion, that he's making the trip to Belfast 2 or 3 days before the game against Newport, having to report for training for that game. It just comes across very unprofessional. Like, I know you look back to modern or to the older days, let's say you hear the stories of Brian Robson, Gordon Strachan, they're all drinking at each other's houses. Like, it's a different time at the end of the day, really, because you break it down. You got a camera in your face nearly everywhere you go, being a Manchester United player anyway. But Marcus Rashford, with the level that he is now, especially of stardom and celebrity status, just being photoed a few days before you're meant to be training, absolutely off your head in the nightclub in Belfast, it just doesn't look good. Now, of course, you have to draw the line of where he has his free time and everything. It's a difficult one, really, but like, I look at it in the perspective of he has that stardom and he has that level of influence that young boys and girls will look up to him and say, I want to be like Marcus Rashford one day. But it doesn't look good then that he's doing this and calling in sick with the attitude that he has sometimes. It's like, you look at we can get into this in a more in-depth detail, but you just see the way he performs on the pitch sometimes, and his just body language doesn't speak a whole lot. So just for someone who's meant to have the greater influence, it just doesn't look good in his place, especially when young kids will see him now and say, okay, so when I'm over the age of 18, I can go to nightclubs, I can not report for training just because I'm feeling sick from the night before. It just doesn't look good, in my opinion. But I suppose, as you made the point there about he made the talks with Eric Ten Hag and John Murtagh, it shows that he's willing to take responsibility for his actions, though, unlike a certain other player who has decided to ship himself off to Germany again. But I'm not going to mention that. But look, in my opinion, it just comes across very unprofessional, really, and it's going to be the talk for the next week at least. Anyway, it's just Manchester United. It's the way it is. Even after the West Ham game, it's still going to be a topic of discussion, depending on if he plays or not in the next couple of days. And that's it, really.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. Like, it's obviously like unbelievably unprofessional, and the whole thing. Like Gary Neville made that point that like he had 2 weeks off. I don't know why you wouldn't. I know he was going over to visit his friend, like Roshan Williams, who joined Larne, and that's absolutely fine. Goes over on a Wednesday, has Thursday off. He looked like, by all accounts, he met all their players and he was posing for photos and like doing the things that like a Man United player should do and like an ambassador. And like by and large, like until recently, Rashford's been pretty spotless in terms of his off the field stuff. Like, obviously done so much charity work and like he seems like a good person. But this, I don't like the one with after going out after the City game. Allegedly, it was his brother's birthday or his birthday. It's a little bit different maybe. But you think a little bit of like, surely have a bit more awareness and a bit of like hop on, and someone will be in your ear being like, don't do that. Like, someone will see you. And also Belfast, like outside of Manchester,
Exactly.
Belfast and Dublin are the two places you're going that everyone is going to be like, there's like, no, he's not, I don't know what he was thinking. And the fact that even the part of him having a flight booked home on the Friday morning at like 7 in the morning,
it just
shocking preparation for training. And I know like Ten Hag is a serious stickler for that sort of stuff. So it just doesn't reflect well at all on him. And I know like it does, it just seems like, yeah, like probably most people have probably done it, calling in sick, like hungover. But you're not everyone's Marcus Rashford, not everyone's getting photographed going out. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's weird. And also like it's our season was on the line against Newport. Like I know we nearly threw it away, but like that's all we have to play for probably. And it just doesn't look good. And also just after like the season we've had, the amount of bad press we've had, and finally it felt like after Barada being announced, after the Ineos stuff and all the positive news coming from that, it's kind of like it does show like the amount of work that they're gonna have to do to fix the culture at United. What do you make for Mark?
Yeah, we think much the same. I think, like, being honest with you, people are kind of parading as if to say, like, oh, it's so unprofessional. It is, however, like what you referenced, it's borderline stupidity, really. It's like, such a high profile player in the midst of the season that he's had. And I know, look, don't get me wrong, footballers have lives outside of football in regards to their personal life. I'm sure Sean Williams would have realised that as well in regards to Rashford going over. Like, who goes to Belfast nightclub and you're a Manchester United player after the back of the season you're after having, and you haven't been firing on all cylinders? Much the same. I potentially think it'd be different if it was the case where it was the season we had last year in regards to his goal return, etc., and his performances. Like, we'd be laughing this off, like, if it was the case where he ultimately had a decent season, but he hasn't. But that's again part of the problem, I think. It's just the fact that he hasn't been at the races as per se, and then he's going into just like I said, stupidity from all accounts. He's such a high profile player, and I think there's more to the story than what we're being told as well. I know there's a few conflicting messages as per se. It's like that he was over in Belfast on the Wednesday night, and then it turned to the Thursday, and he was due to report to train on a Friday, and there's a lot of the lads from the Athletic trying to get every ounce of the story. And yeah, I think there's an awful lot more. I think, like, Ten Hag touched on it during the day during the midst of the press conference, albeit he didn't speak much on it, was basically saying that he'll deal with it in-house, but again, a few mute responses if there's much more going on other than just what had happened in Belfast, so like I said, as much as I think it was stupidity, there's probably more that needs to go in regards to the overall story, that we're probably unaware of, and we'll never will get the details of. I know it's probably as simple as saying, oh, he went for a few drinks and ultimately messed up, but maybe he just needed some time away, albeit a very stupid, structured few drinks with his mates, considering he's so high profile at such a tail end of the season when, like what you said, we had a big game coming up against Newport. Considering that's probably the only chance, not probably, it is the only chance of silverware we can be contesting for this season. So, I think we'll move on in the sense of he'll be in the Wolves squad, for Wolves come Thursday night. I don't see him starting. I think Ten Hag in that regard will probably make somewhat of a structured basis of his behaviours, considering his performances haven't been great anyway. So, I hope he can turn it around for his own sake. But if not, I'd be just of the opinion, if he doesn't want to be there for whatever reason, just offload him. We're at the coming into February now, and we need to be start winning games if we're thinking about Europe. Like at the tail end of the season come May, and if he doesn't want to be part of this whole new structure we have in the club in regards to Ineos and their buying into the club, well then he can just be moved on. That's my take.
Yeah, there's a few comments coming in here now, just like kind of echoing that sentiment. It does kind of feel like a break. It could be a breaking point, like in terms of, is it like like out with the old, in with the new era, clear out everyone. Like, I was thinking, like, who would you actually care if they? Like, who would the person would actually care if they left? I think I had Mainu, Garnacho, Hoyland, Martinez, even Bruno. I'm like, you're 30 this year. Are you going to be around when we're getting good? Like, it's hard to. We need to start afresh, kind of. But it's a weird, like you said as well with Rashford. Like, there's probably way more to this than, it's not as simple as like, yeah, you just went out the piss. Like, there's more to it, and like there's obviously And Andy Mitten touched on it, being like this, you'd be worried about him or like the people around him or whatever.
Yeah, I was listening to that earlier,
yeah. There's a lot of pressure, like playing a local lad playing for United. He's the one who does get the most, like he gets the most stuff. He gets the most nonsense against him, and like he's always got bad press, mainly because he went against the Tories and like the papers don't like that. That is the reason, and he's a young black man like who's successful. So you have to kind of like, as a person, I'm like, yeah, like let's hope he's all right. But as a player, I'm like, do we need this crap? Do we need more and more nonsense going on at the club? So it'll be interesting. I also thought it was interesting that how much more was made about this than there was made about Kyle Walker. Like literally,
it was typical. But I didn't expect anything less once that Walker story came out. Like the first thing that popped into my head was, it's so ironic that Marcus Rashford going out and having a couple of drinks in Belfast will receive much more bad press versus Kyle Walker, basically having another family to contend for, in the sense of something.
Yeah, there is maybe, there's maybe the point that like, obviously, United just are naturally bigger club and they sell more, and Rashford, at the points I made already, he's more high profile and people are more interested by him. But also the fact that like somehow Kyle Walker can perform on the pitch. Like he can perform in the bedroom, obviously, but he's like, I don't understand how you can have all that going on in your life and go out and be winning Champions Leagues and captain City. Whereas Rashford is 100% a person who you can tell when his personal life or his general life is going well because he shows on the pitch. Whereas Walker seems to like be able to live like a dual life. Or in more ways than one. But it's an interesting one, and like you said, like it's really going to show coming in. Like the fact of playing Wolves is interesting as well with the parallels with last season. Obviously, he slept in for that team meeting, came off the bench just before New Year's last year and scored, and it was like very much like Then he just went into like the best run of his career. So it's an interesting one because we just know for a fact, like if he doesn't start, he's going to end up coming on because. You just know Anthony, like he did well against the League Two side, but like no one's backing him to be tearing up anything at Molyneux. So we'll move away from Rashford for a bit. Obviously, we'll come into when we start talking about predicted sides and so on. But I think the next topic, like I think the main other takeaway from the weekend was the first time we more or less had close to a full strength team. It's the first time since I think the second game of the season that Martinez, Shaw, Varane, and Casemiro started. So I'll throw to you, Darragh, first. Like, do you think like Ten Hag, like, do you think they'll make a big difference having all these guys back? And do you also think it just gives Ten Hag zero excuses now not to get the show on the road a bit?
I suppose I won't say it'd be zero excuses because let's be honest, he'll pull it like, and I love Ten Hag. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of very few I think who still back him at this point. But how do you describe us? He's running out of excuses. He'll continue to make excuses to back himself, though. And, like, especially having Varane and Martinez back now in the formation, Casemiro wasn't the greatest last night. I suppose, look, this is all getting back to sharp match, or to match fitness back again. But it was very sloppy at times against Newport. Like, I'll be honest, I was in and out of the game because I was with family, but I still had it on in the background. And from what I saw, Manu outperformed Casemiro, and you wouldn't say that about an 18-year-old against a seasoned veteran like for Casemiro. I thought Martinez, bar the deflection for the first goal for Newport, was solid. So like you could tell that the team is coming back. Like buying your, for all intents and purposes, fair enough. It was against Newport. He had a quality game. Bar like you look at those two goals. He couldn't really do much after the fact of Martinez having the deflection off him, and it was, I think it was Varane who caused the second goal, kind of cut across against Varane. So, like, those two goals shouldn't have happened. It was simple, sloppy mistakes. Shouldn't have happened in the first place. But look, the team as a whole looked better. Like, I suppose Garnacho didn't have the greatest game. Casemiro could have played better. Casemiro being Casemiro got himself booked. He's out since November and he gets himself booked first game. What an achievement in itself, really. But look, overall, I was happy with some of the performances. Like, I could not understand for the life of me, and I was vocal about this as well. I couldn't understand how Anthony got so much abuse despite getting his first 2 goal involvements of the season. Like, fair enough, if he drew another blank yet again, understandably crucify him. But my God, the abuse that he got in social media was outrageous for someone who finally, albeit after, was it 9 months or something like that, got his first goal and assist. Like, if you're not going to back the players, okay, fair enough. I will give the caveat it was Newport, and I know people will throw that in our face when they're talking on social media. You just have to take the positive and say, look, it's something for his confidence. If he doesn't push on after finally getting a goal and assist in one game after 9 months, then fair enough, bin him off, talk whatever you want about him. You just got to maintain the confidence and let him become confident before knocking him again. If he continues to go about his old ways of just cutting on the left foot and shooting into the rose edge, then so be it. Let him get the abuse then. But when we finally win a game, when we're trying to gain momentum, albeit against a lower league team, you have to take the positives before you take the negatives in that aspect. Because because let's be honest, this team is very confidence shy. So it's just a case of let them build themselves up before knocking them down again. If they deserve the criticism, let them have it. If it was an overall solid performance, like I thought it was anyway, from what I saw, then try and take the positives before you hit them with negative.
Yeah, I think that's that's kind of the nature of United these days. It's hard because everyone's just so frustrated and sick of everything. But yeah, I thought he was all right. Like there's a few he could have scored. It was an unbelievable block for I think Garnacho passed it back to him. It was a brilliant block. But you kind of have to look at let's kick on from this now. Forget it was Newport onto Wolves, performed there. I thought first half an hour, I was like, oh, this is like my mate was. I said United are being very professional here. My mate Liverpool fan was just like, ha ha ha. I was like, I was like, oh, that's the bare minimum, but we haven't been getting the bare minimum for a long time. So it was like, this is good to see. They're turning up, they're taking it seriously, and they're just putting aside a team that are whatever, like 60 places above them in the league. That's what you're supposed to do against those teams. And then a bit of a fluke goal, and obviously we just concede goals after half time. But so that just takes it away. But there was little things you're like, I can see that. That's all right. That's okay. And you're hoping now you've got last season, our whole bit, the whole foundation we built everything on was Casemiro and Varane and Martinez behind them.
Yeah.
We didn't really lose when the bar that 7-0 Liverpool. We didn't lose. I think we lost a single game with 3 of them playing. So it really was like a bit of solidity, but the feeling, it doesn't have the same feeling as last year, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to get carried away with a win like that. But we just we're looking for a needle in a haystack. So we have to take the positives where they are. What do you think of it, Mark? Do you think that's something to build on, or even the midfield itself? Everyone was kind of looking forward to seeing Casemiro and Mainu. Do you think that's something to build on, and going forward for the rest of the season? Do you think that's our best route to any sort of success?
Yeah, you would think so, considering we're going to have to produce results like that in the league, going forward, in the sense of actually playing well. I thought we played relatively well, a couple of sloppy mistakes, but I think that was basically due to, it could have been even lack of confidence with some of the players, and as well as you're talking about Shaw and Martinez and Casemiro. Was just positive in regards to getting minutes into their legs, albeit against a League 2 side. Can't really say much in regards to negatives, almost thought Anthony actually had a half decent game. As well as that, I think he's just always going to be scrutinised over social media. It's just because when you pay so much for a player, you expect such a return in regards to goals and assists. And I'm sure he'd be the first to say that his Manchester United career hasn't got off to a great start after a season plus at the club now, and as well as his off the field issues. But yeah, I hope we can just build on it, because if we can just reference the first game of the year in regards to Wolves, I think that they'll have the bit between their teeth come Thursday night. They'll want to obviously go out and beat us, and think that they're quite capable of doing so. So I think having the likes of Casemiro, Shaw and in particular Martinez back in the side and in the squad. Hopefully we can go out and get a decent result come Thursday night, because we definitely missed them. Like with your reference in regards to last season, they were basically our three main players in regards to Varane, that back two. But there's some positives to take from you. Like what Darragh was saying, in regards to Kobe Mainoo, thought he had a very good game. And I reckon, I know it's the next part of the pod as per se, but I think come Thursday night it'll be the same. In regard to the starting lineup, will be Mainoo as well as Casemiro. Mainoo, the thing is, and I won't go on about him too much. I know obviously people are referencing an awful lot in regards to the season he's had to have, which has been very good for an 18-year-old. But he just looks so level-headed on the ball. It's like he can't be pressed, in the sense of you press him and he's just so good with his feet. He can get out of it very quickly. And having Casemiro beside him as well, you're talking about like a full international who was, 100 caps for Brazil or wherever it is. And he's just going to learn from Casemiro. Casemiro was ultimately going to be a teacher for him. So they're my two to start come the midfield base on Thursday night. So look, I'm looking forward to incoming league games. Like I said, hopefully we can just string results together, because it hasn't been a great watch. But I'm glad that we got the result during the day. I thought it was going to be much more uncomfortable than it was at times. Newport, obviously, I think they just got lucky with their 2 goals. But as well as that, I know you'd referenced Darragh, that Varane was at fault for the second goal. Definitely, you have to be sharper in them situations. If there's someone from, all due respect in Newport County, if there's a striker in League 2 doing that to you, getting across a World Cup winner, it means that you are just not switched on. We are literally not in tune cognitively to be like, I need to get in front here. I think stuff like that in regards to negative, but you can't be too negative as a whole. We're have to go through in terms of the next round. So like I said, I'm looking forward to the upcoming games. Just hopefully we can string a couple of results together and get more towards the European places. So yeah, that's my take on it. Hopefully we can kick on now, considering we were running out of excuses here, lads.
Of course, yeah.
Our injuries, these are our main players, and they're all coming back. So our head is out, laid out in the chopping block, as per se. It's a case where we can't kick on in terms of last year, the season that we had. Considering obviously we're after having so many difficult periods of the season so far because of our injuries. Anyone would say that, but as well as that, like I said, excuses only get you so far. This is the time now we are going to have to get them big players match fit and hopefully kick on. That's it.
Yeah, I think, like everything you said there is bang on. And on Mainoo, I presume Casemiro will leave in the summer, and I think we're all we're on our 5th rebuild in 10 years. We do need to get the money off a Saudi Arabia club, get off the contract, start afresh. And Casemiro was brilliant last year, but I thought we'd get more years out of him, but everyone did say it was a ridiculous contract to give him. But I do think 6 months for Mainoo to play next to Casemiro, it's pretty brilliant education for him. And you don't want Mainoo playing next to a McTominay or Ericsson who can't run. It's good that he has Casemiro, and it also means Casemiro. It means Mainoo doesn't have to be the deepest the whole time. He can push on a bit. I think that was his first. I think he had a shot. He had a shot against Wigan, but you hadn't seen him take a shot really. And then he just passed the ball. He just passed it into the net. It was very. He reminds you so much of Michael Carrick, that kind of link man who's not a defensive midfielder. He's just so cool and calm. Like you said, he always seems to have space, and he's really good. He's unbelievable in half turn. Whenever he just turns his body and he's away from someone.
So strong as well. You'd hate to be wanting to press him. It's just because he just bounces off you. Like I said, for an 18-year-old, just seems so structured and in tune and communicates as well. If you actually notice that without the ball at his feet, he at times when you look at him, he's communicating to the players around him. And for an 18-year-old to be saying that to people who are much more experienced than him in regards to their years and their football and playing is. That's something that we can just look forward to and say, we've literally a serious player in our hands for the next couple of years, and hopefully we can kick on in regard to a football club and when we're down.
And just before we
reminds
move on
me.
as well, I meant to make the point when I was saying it when I was talking about the game earlier. Did any of you notice how well it actually worked when Anthony was on the left and Garnacho was on the right? Because I noticed, I was saying to myself, wait, is Anthony actually playing on the left? He actually looked relatively decent there because, like, rather than cutting in, he was actually whipping the ball across and making one or two cutbacks. And I was there like, this could work if you gave it a run, like.
Yeah, but we probably know he won't. Like,
oh, probably not. But
I
at the same time, it's worth a shout. Like,
which is sad. We're running out of options really at times, aren't we? So
isn't it? It's quite, or it's actually weird how like rare it is to see the like a left-footed winger playing on the left. Like it's like when someone does it now, it's like eureka moment, being like, this is pretty basic standard. Like it's pretty basic.
It's like 4-4-2, proper old style.
And it worked better when like Garnacho on the right
was in the right positions based on their correct foot, left and right. So
yeah, and like Garnacho, like he had a lot of good crosses. Yeah, I'm sorry, we'll get to like that's kind of like our next talking point. Obviously, we talked about one of our star boys mainly, but like Garnacho, you could see how like Hoyland was visibly, and like you could hear him, was just so annoyed at the lack of service. And obviously we know Anthony's service is fairly disgraceful. So given like the first assist of the season. And like Hoyland, I know he's taking a lot of stick and so on, and he's only 20 years old. He came off a back injury to the club. He joined a club in crisis. He joined a club with like the manager seemingly lost like all his tactical acumen. You know, because it's a very hard club to come into. It's a hard team to come to Man United in general. At 20 years old is very tough. So like I've waited. I've been like, yeah, I'm confident when I'm patient, and he has shown enough, I think, to think like there's a serious player there. Just hasn't been helped by like some of the service. Like I think the stat, like he scored 8 goals for us, and 5 of them haven't been assisted. Like
it's crazy.
First shot in the game. First shot in the game was in the 94th minute, and it's. Yeah, like what, like basically, like what's the solution? I know we talked about like putting the wingers with like the right footer on the right. Do you think that's the way forward, or like surely to Hayes tearing strips off Garnacho, being like, just put the ball across them, like he will tap them in, because he's a box goal scorer. I think like he's built for that.
But see, this is the thing with the way wingers, like the modern day winger. Let's say, no, if I was a modern day winger, I'm left footed. Player, I would be predominantly down the right wing because they would naturally expect you to cut inside and work off your left. The problem is modern day defenders know what the game is now. It's all right, or let's say right side players on the left wing and vice versa. They know when players are going to cut in, and like for as great as Arjen Robben was, people knew when he was going to cut in, but it was just his ability back at the time that he was able to say, "Screw you, I'm going to ping it over you regardless," because he was of such a class player for someone who kind of like Anthony only had 1 foot back in the day. Whereas the modern day player actually knows it's going to happen. He just has to time it really. And it's just seeing the way it was there though the first 25 minutes where Anthony looked like he was playing off the left, Garnacho playing off the right. I'm there like, fair enough, Garnacho can relatively use both feet. Anthony can't. I think this would actually benefit Anthony by staying on the left and saying, okay, you only have 1 foot, start whipping it in, or if you get the chance your right foot. Something we've been crying out for the last 18 months.
Even at that, from like a tactical approach, like I'm no master tactician, but is that not very confusing for a fullback in terms of your defensive play? So in other words, like Ten Hag today, like with your reference, done it for several minutes during the midst of that game. But like if you're playing against like in a shoot back line and you have like your left winger, i.e. left footed, and you just alternate switch between both wingers, you know, I just think that it gives fullbacks headaches because you're like,
exactly,
is he going to stay out line or is he going to cut inside? And it's just much more, you know, you have to be very dynamic. And I think that's what we're lacking at times as well. It's the structure's just not there, you know. Yeah, but look, we'll see in the coming games anyway. See what
we can only hope in, right?
Yeah,
I think like, do you know, like Hoyland, like obviously his movement, he's young, he'll work on his movement. Sometimes his movement slightly reminds me, very, very slightly, of like Cavani's like near post. You're going to the near post the whole time, or like getting in quick runs. But he makes the runs and then the lad cuts back inside or like it's always, Garnacho wants to shoot first. Anthony, I don't really know what Anthony wants to do at times, but it's very plodding and like, like we need to get if you have a fast striker like Hoyland, who his like acceleration's ridiculous. It's like his first move, and he's gonna get ahead of a defender most likely. Get the ball into him. It's frustrating to watch, and because you're just like he needs. I do like just to get the monkey off his back and the chat around him to go away. He just needs to he needs to get a run of goals and just get some chances.
Yes.
So it's people kind of like, oh, is his movement not like in sync with them? It's probably a bit of both, but I don't think the wingers are helping him at all. And it's the weird kind of like paradox with United, like everything kind of like doesn't make sense. Like Bruno is like one of the it's all his stats like most chances created in the league. I'm like, I can't remember any chances to be made for Hoyland. Like it just seems that it's all a bit out of sync, and that obviously does get obviously that brings questions around Ten Hag and like what's the story with what's the tactics, and like you're just wondering like what is Hoyland's role, like what's he been told to do in line with his attackers. But I do think like we didn't really touch on him, but because he hasn't been missing half as much as Martinez and Casemiro of late. I think like Luke Shaw like is just such a like I can't stand like Dallo and Wan-Bissaka just together, just not the one. But like they're just like they've been around for a long time. They're not good enough, and no, you're not good enough a left back. You're not good enough a right back. But Luke Shaw, like he's very good, obviously with Newport, but he's just so much more like he's classy on the ball. He takes care of the ball. He's not rash. Like a lot of our players are just like throwing themselves around. But I thought Luke Shaw, I think he'll bring a good bit to the attack. He can also whip across. Like I think Hoyland
exactly,
yeah, making those back post runs, he'll get them. Like, but yeah, like I think. Yeah, like the forwards, obviously, we had the lack of goals up top this season has been really poor. Been a bit better recently. So let's hope it changes against Wolves. And I think you mentioned it, like the Wolves will be out to get us, like with their first, like when we played in the first game of the season. Like I kind of forgot, that feels so long ago. And I was going into the season optimistic, being like, we won't win the league, but I think we'll come like a distant second, like 15 points off. But yeah, I think they got robbed in that game. Like they absolutely battered us for the whole game, and then Onana like Superman punched their defender. So I think they'll be definitely going for a big win. And like, what do you think? Like, are you confident that we'll get a win, or like what are we feeling towards it?
It's a tough one really, because like when they're more informed players, Hang-Wei Chen hasn't, or I believe he's injured at the moment. And like he was coming right into form just as he got injured, so he will be a big miss. Now, the whole Wolves, like even go back to last season, we didn't exactly perform the best away at Molyneux until Marcus Rashford came on. Now, will history repeat itself? He comes off the bench, scores 1 or 2 goals, and makes it back to his old self again. We don't know. The problem is, you go back to that game at the start of the season, I was there front and center, and I was there like yourself, Pete. I was optimistic, and I was, this isn't right. This wasn't the plan, like, because it looked all but set in stone. Casemiro sitting deep. You have Mountain, Bruno. We were still missing Highland, so is it Martial? I'm trying to remember the lineup off the top.
I think Rashford was up top, and Garnacho and Anthony.
Oh yes, so like
it was kind of our best team, like
and that's the worrying part when you say that. Then
I know, like it was that, like I think that game really did show one, Casemiro's legs. Like you're like, geez, these went, because last season he was doing a lot of the work on his own. And then also, like, it was like the first questions of like a lot of people did ask the question, like Mason Mount, like what is the weird, him and Bruno in the same three is kind of strange. And I remember that game, just weird things were happening. Like Luke Shaw was playing like an inverted left back. Like he was very, all of it just felt really out of sync. And like last season was, I thought we were very like controlled in how we played, and that just felt so like lackadaisical. That was where the donut formation started, where it was like, how on earth does like Cunha just like pick the ball up in his box, and he's in our box within like 30 seconds? And sorry, just on Hee-chan, I just googled him there. He's not injured, but he had a good night. He scored the winning penalty for South Korea against Saudi Arabia in the Asian Cup.
Oh, my bad. Thought he was injured.
Yeah. I was wondering. I was like, is he away?
I suppose I keep track of the Asian Cup, being honest.
Yeah, it's kind of been because the AFCON's on at the same time. It's kind of more in the background. But again, like Spurs are missing Son, their best player. Wolves are missing Hee-chan, who's been probably their best player this season, their main goal threat, and kind of like one of the finds of the season. So like we should be going into this game being like, yeah, Wolves are missing one of their key players. We're also a better team than Wolves on paper, player for player. We might not show it, and it does just have all the feels of like Thursday night, 8:15 kickoff. We've had a lot of like Molyneux.net hasn't been a good ground for us. There's been a lot of like.
No, it has not. No,
I think Phil Jones got an own goal there in 2019. Lost in the FA Cup there. It's always a horrible game playing Wolves. It's never any goals either. So I can't say I'm too optimistic. What are you thinking, Mark, before the head of the game?
I don't know. Like that, I was at the first game of the year. I know we've referenced it a couple of times in regards to previous podcasts, but look, I'm still. It's do you know why I keep referencing this? Because it's like we just haven't kicked on based on that poor performance. You know, we sat in the stands on that cold Monday night, and I was just like, you know, this isn't the same team that I'd witnessed last year. So. In regards to the upcoming game, look, I'm relatively optimistic based on the performance of the weekend. I know people, again, can reference that was a League Two side, but like I said, the narratives behind it is you can take positives around the game, like i.e. some of our more, experienced players coming back from injury, and so a bigger and a stronger squads to pick from versus what we've had over the course of the season. So that's why I'm relatively optimistic. And I know, I'd reference going back in regards to the first game of the season. However, like people fail to realise that Wolves had a very, very good night that night in regards to particularly their midfield. You know, with like the likes of Kuna and Mario Lemina was going around like prime Clarence Seedorf that night, spraying balls. You know, and Aiton Yori was literally like Roberto Carlos. So they had a very good night that night, and we had a very poor night. We just didn't kick into gear. Nor have we done over the course of the year, but I believe now I'm more optimistic going into Thursday than I was ironically going into the game versus Newport on a Sunday, because I just thought it was such a banana skin. I know people can reference and say Newport are a poor side in League Two. However, we're talking about Premier League players who have come from riches, basically down to play a team of rags, like if you want to put it that way. So, like I said, I'm just optimistic going at the Monument, but again, potentially they are a banana skin come Thursday night. I think that side, I know they've lost a couple of players, particularly with the likes of Neves, Moutinho, players of that caliber, but I think they've won twice in the past 3 years in the Etihad, if I'm not mistaken. They just seem to always go there and get a result. They haven't this year, but there is base of a good squad there. Like you're saying, their main player being the Asian Cup League champ, but I think we have enough to go to the Monument and beat them come Thursday night, but hopefully I'm just not being over optimistic, and I'm not pulled back down to reality based on the season that we've had, that I can't be too happy.
Yeah, it has been the case. The most annoying thing, just generally, you see some green sparks, some positivity in a game. Like the Villa comeback, I know it was an awful first half, but a good comeback, and Garnacho and Hoyland, and you're like, yeah, that's. And I remember saying, I was like, guarantee we lose to Forest. Like everyone kind of knew, we're definitely gonna lose to Forest. It is just annoying. You don't get any even just fool up, just kid us for a few weeks, give us 4 wins in a row, and just let us pretend that we could be doing.
Just give me a bit of happiness. That's all I want.
Yeah. Let's pretend we have the mindset of okay, we can actually hit top 4.
Yeah. Even if we don't, just give us something to play for.
Exactly.
Although we are getting lucky with our FA Cup draws, in a sense, but there hasn't really been. I know City played Spurs, and actually there has been big games. Sorry, what am I talking about? We have got Bristol City are not far again. Forest, they aren't that away. That's a relatively handy 5th round draw. We should be going for that. But also we only have a game a week now, really. So it shouldn't be going to Wolves on Thursday, she'll be like, yeah, that's like we're ready, we're gearing up for it. I think the biggest person for any of these, like just for getting an edge back in the team is Martinez. I think he's like proper, like I saw like an interview with him before he came back. He's like proper. I think he feels more like a captain than Bruno. Like the way he carries himself and the way he leads the back four, starts all our plays.
Always, but
the way he communicates is just like he absolutely loves Manchester United. I personally believe it. Like
Yeah, I don't think he's faking or anything. I'm like, I think you're like you desperately want to do well here. So I think he's like him coming back's huge. And also he looked like, I know he came on against Spurs. A bit mad he came on in that kind of game after like 4 months out. But he looked good, and then he was good. I know it was Newport again, and like a caveat for everything. But some of his passing was brilliant, and he just gives us so much more like authority. Like just comparing him to like a Lindelof or a Maguire. I'm not gonna show shade of Johnny Evans. It's actually kind of good.
We should never compare them. We should never compare Martinez to like some Maguire or Evans.
No, we'll be stuck with that. Yeah.
Do you know what I noticed? Fair play to you. Like with that, look, the goalkeeper. I think he put a spray, like just it was like a stray kind of pass. There wasn't enough power into it. The Casemiro, if I'm not mistaken. And with that, Martinez looked around at him and literally gave him the daggers, as if to say, never do that again. And I was like, fair play to you, because look, that's what you need. We can't, mollycoddle people. You have to literally be fierce and like that. I was just like, I admired him so much. Like it was technically a second game back after such a long period of time out, and someone is literally not pulling their weight in regards to a straight pass, and then it's like you're here, you have to do this. You're a Manchester United player, so yeah, it just reminds me of old stock, really. I love the chap.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. By Inder, they're calling him Alte, so we'll call him Alte. I felt like he was grand. As you said, like he didn't make any issue. He didn't do anything wrong himself. Like he was actually quite solid. But you feel from now, like Cameroon are out, Onana's back. Not a hope in hell he's playing against Wolves. Onana will be back in. Oh yeah, we might never see it by Inder again. Like I don't know if we'll ever play for the club again.
Like
it just feels like.
No, I was gonna say I genuinely feel with the way Onana has now and the structure of playing up from the back, like Ten Hag will naturally just go back to playing Onana because that's the way he designed his team to play football, play up in the back. Yeah. Start with Onana, let Onana be the Neuer style sweeper keeper. If he has that mindset, let him have it. But honestly, it's just the way it runs. I'm still like, if you want a solid goalkeeper, you play Alte. If you want to actually play your style of football, you're going to play Onana. Eventually, Onana is going to cause one too many slip-ups when compared to how many has he caused this season. But starting from there, you kind of think, okay, one slip-up, you drop him for Alte. If Alte doesn't perform to the standards, fair enough, you bring Onana back in and see if that actually works. It's just a mindset of, look, we saw glimpses of what Alte can do against Newport. We'll always have the caveat of it being Newport. I don't care. We'll just make the point anyway. But he showed glimpses that he could actually say, okay, if you gave him a run out against, I'm not saying throw him in against West Ham, but even a slightly lower but tougher, just as tough team in Wolves, if you throw him in against Wolves, relatively feed him to the Wolves, but get that pun out of the way.
To say, yeah.
But look, it's the case that. But at the same time, you kind of have to think, give Alte the chance against Wolves, see what he's like standard wise in the Premier League. You'll know then if he's cut out for it or not, and then make your decision then for Sunday against West Ham.
Yeah, and also there's the point, like Onana's flying back from Ivory Coast, like it's a bit. And he's like, I don't think Onana doesn't seem to give a rat's about the Cameroon national team. It was bizarre he even went. He fell out with Samuel Eto'o this time, but coming back from seemed like a pretty it didn't seem like a traumatic in a sense. Like he was falling out, he was dropped, and it's like a lot of things were happening for him. And
did he not play like one game out of potentially 4 games?
He played 1 out of 4. I think his flight got stranded somewhere, and then he played 1, and he got dropped. and I think he fell out with Etu before he got dropped. But it's not the
taking
most
advice off. Was it not El Hadj Diouf pulled him aside to take advice? If you're taking advice from El Hadj Diouf,
you're in a bad spot. I think the only lower is Joey Barton, probably.
Yeah.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Two Rangers legends anyway. Says a lot. But I think the Baynder stuff, this again is no excuse for Ten Hag. You have Onana, you have Martinez, you have Luke Shaw, you have Casemiro, and you have Mainu. That should be more than enough in terms of passing out from the back. And that was the whole point. Get Onana and Martinez together. You're your Ajax guys. This is how you played your style. So there's no excuse. He brings Onana back in. If we lose at Wolves on Thursday, that's when you're okay, this. I think Ten Hag kind of feels like a dead man walking on stands. He's got to do a lot to turn around. But it would just, if we lose the first league game when he has all his big hitters back, that's when you start being you're making the decision for Ineos yourself. And it's only going to be, and no one is going to be criticizing them. They'll be fair enough.
It's ironic, I think, because
so on that, I don't. Yeah.
Just one last point on that. Look, I'm talking way forward, but from an Indies perspective, what Darragh had said at the start, I'm a big fan of Ten Hag as well, in the sense of I'm just sick of chopping and changing. I want to see him do well. Every other Manchester United fan who's worth their salt, they don't want to give him the boot and say, okay, good luck to you. I want them there for a progressive long time and see our club grow like everybody else. However, if it's a case where we don't get a string of results, particularly over the next few games, and he is let go, I don't think any manager in their right mind frame is going to keep Andre Onana as a number one for next year. I really don't think that. So just in regards to that argument, he just makes too many mistakes for me personally, and I'm assuming everybody else. He's very good with the ball at his feet, albeit makes mistakes at times. However, I just don't trust him. And that's a big thing, particularly with your back four. You have to have a level of trust with your goalkeeper, and I just don't think we have that. So I don't personally think it's a case where Ten Hag ultimately is giving us P45. I don't think that he's going to be at the club come next year. I'll be surprised if anyone coming in and with Ineos with the structure that be said in regards to the foundations they've laid down. It doesn't matter if you're a club player or you're higher up on the board. If you're not performing, you won't be in the club.
Yeah. And personally, I'm looking forward to the whole clear out of Ineos.
I also think
sorry, there might be a leg on my side now. So
sorry, I agree with you. I'm looking forward to the clear out. I'm excited for it. Just to see who they get rid of. And the only thing I would say about Onana and Anthony, the two of them cost about 130 million combined. That you're and they must be on big wages. Who's going to buy them? We almost need Ten Hag to get a new club, and then he'll buy them from us, something like that. Because I don't know where we're getting money for Anthony, unless we get a Saudi club, because it's a very small. The market's quite small now. It's Premier League clubs and Saudi Arabia, and then Barcelona and Real Madrid aren't buying Anthony.
No.
So no, it seriously is
even with Barcelona, with the problems they're having at the moment, they wouldn't take him on a free.
I found this on the web, or is there? Check it out.
I think, like you said, even with the accountability now coming towards the club, doesn't matter who you are. I think the next 6 months for everyone in the team, it's an audition, being are you part of the future? Are you part of the new man, the hopefully new Man United? I think for once we're going to have Barada's now, coming in June or whatever. Just talk that we're going to have the director of football and then soon the head of recruitment. So it's football, people making football decisions, which is all we've wanted for a long time, because it's got to a point where you're God, wouldn't it be great if the people running Man United actually knew more about Man United than three blokes on a podcast? It felt like that. You want proper people making decisions. But anyway, we'll get back to Wolves, and I don't think if we'll do a predicted lineup, I don't think we need to even say who we all think is going to be in goals. So I'll go with the back four. I think I can see him playing Dallo, Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro, Mainu, Bruno, Anthony, Garnacho, and Højlund. And I think the team the team quite kind of picks itself. Do you guys have any differences or?
No, because it's more the question of, does he continue with Alte for one more game before Onana slots back in for West Ham, or does he just put Onana straight back in the lineup? Other than that, I think it's going to be Mark might disagree with me, but I feel it'll be the same team that went out against Newport, albeit the choice of goalkeeper maybe.
No, I agree, because I think I named the top 3 in the previous podcast, and I don't think he's going to revert from that. Like I said, the likes of Anthony, people can say what they want in regards to his overall performance throughout the season, but look, he had a decent game the other night. There's no doubt about it. A goal and an assist. You'd expect that coming from him against a League 2 club, but I think he's after doing enough based on the past game to merit a start. But again, this is the nitty-gritty part of the season where we're going to have to get results together. So he has to show up like everybody else. I don't see Rashford starting, obviously. But definitely in the squad, obviously in the subs bench. In regards to midfield, you are spot on, as well as that Mainu and Casemiro. It's hard to see past them, and as well as that, he was going to come in, really, maybe Delot, he'll definitely start, won't he? He will.
He seems to really like Delot. I just don't rate him. I don't rate. They're both bang average. If you put them together, they'd be good, but they just both have massive flaws in their game.
If we were able to put the 2 players into one, because I genuinely still think that Wan-Bissaka is one of the best 1v1 fullbacks.
Oh yeah,
guaranteed.
Some of his other I don't even think he's a great one-on-one defender, but his positioning is so bad. The amount of times he's out of his position and and he's looking somewhere else at right back, and also I know he's great at recovery tackles. Top defenders don't make recovery tackles because they're in the right position to start with.
Well, do you never go to ground, number one?
I think as well. But we haven't even mentioned him at all. It kind of sums up his United career. He might be on the bench tomorrow as well. Mason Mount might be on the bench tomorrow. So he is someone that I'm still holding out for Mason Mount. He's only 25, and he has proven himself at a big club in the Premier League, and he's played Champions League football. And we're in a position now where we can't sell everyone next summer. So I do think that he's going to be someone that we'll hold on to. It also helps that he's homegrown English for the quote and so on. But the 4 players I mentioned earlier, Martinez, Mainu, Garnacho, and Hoyland. I think Mount is just kind of I don't know what to think. No one knows what is what.
His career hasn't got going in the Manchester United.
No.
That. That's why no one knows what to think between injuries and everything else. The only thing as well, I know. Look, I'm just being cynical here. People talk about Rashford in regards to the night, Mason Mount's putting up bleeding poxy TikToks and all, just reel it in, did you see that video, Darragh?
I did.
Holy Jesus!
I'm glad I didn't. There's nothing worse when players injured or playing terrible. What? Do you not have any cop on that? The fans don't want to see this.
But even if you just go back to your earlier point there about Rashford and was it his brother's birthday you said after the City game? If you know you're in a position where you would be spotted on the night out, going back to the earlier point, the instance of losing as bad as we did to City at home, no less. Maybe he could have whispered in his brother's ear, okay, maybe can we make this low key? Can we go somewhere else? I know you don't want to be making people's plans alter around you, but either don't go or try and persuade a more low-key event in that instance, because you're just after losing 3-0 and you're after putting in a shit performance, basically, call a spade, and they're well, I don't want to be seen out in public. Naturally, that would be the most instinctual thing to do or say. Either not go or just, with the whole thing of, fair enough, you could make the point, some cynical people would make the point, but in regards to, let's say, Mason Mount to the TikToks, they're but he's sitting around all day while he's getting match fitness, and they're one of those poxy dances could actually get him injured again. This is the thing. So who knows what could happen then?
I think, as well as that, I think,
comments coming in.
Common denominator
came when he was at Chelsea.
Boils down to common sense, doesn't it? Like, in other words, like, we know it's your brother's birthday, etc. But you're after coming off like a devastating loss against your main rivals and your neighbours. Like, reel it in. That's exactly what should have been done there. Like, a bit of common sense, as well as that the other night as well. Like I said at the start, like, borderline stupidity. Like, let alone ringing in sick for work. Technically, it's everything about the whole trip. Like, he could have done this last week when we've had a fortnight off. Like, basically, like, he could have done this trip last week. But as well as that, again, I'd reference, like, maybe there's so much more going on. You need to down Manchester than anything else. Just seems to me like whatever happens, like with Rashford, I know he spoke about it, but from an emotional standpoint, you can nearly feel it off him when there's something wrong. Mentally almost. Like, it's quite sad because he's literally the weight of the world on his shoulders, really. Because like every Manchester United fan looks up to him. You just want them to give us a string of good performances,
Of course, yeah. And like I'm just seeing the comments here in the chat as well, and people are just saying about how it's unfair to bash Mount. And they're like, I'm not personally one to bash Mount because I was actually excited for what he could do because, let's be honest, I know we were playing a second string Leeds in a preseason friendly, but he was more playing at the number 8 role, I believe, back at that game. If someone can correct me now if I'm wrong in saying that, he was playing the more number 8 role, and he was stringing passes together. Now, this is a team without Bruno as well, so in any game where he's been playing with Bruno, it hasn't shown anything yet. I just hope he doesn't turn into another Danny where his natural position is the number 10 and it's taken up by Bruno.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to go down that road again.
Yeah, no, we don't, because ultimately, where that's going to end up.
Yeah, I do think
him loaned to another English side.
Most managers, whatever manager.
Pete's got into the Matrix.
Yeah. He's not paying for decent broadband.
No, God, no.
He's from Terranure, that's expected.
I can't say much down to Cork, to be honest. But anyway.
You do. You can say a lot, Darragh. He's a hungry animal.
Oh, good old Shiv.
Cut off there for a minute, which is...
we were just slagging you for your Wi-Fi.
Sorry, we'll... It's a reasonable shout. On that note, we'll close up. But before we do that, we'll just do a quick prediction of the score. I'm going to go. I think realistically we'll lose. For the sake of the United pod, I'll say 2-1, and just because he's the man in the headlines, Rashford to come off the bench again and score the winner, and do a shush celebration or something. So, what do you think, Darragh?
We talked the point of low scoring games. I'm just gonna keep it a simple 1-0, and I want Highland to be the one scoring, but something tells me in the back of my mind it's going to be Garnacho. So, be the fair assessment, say Garnacho. Or
what do you think, Mark?
I'm gonna go off the bat and say 3-1 United. I'm relatively, I'm not as apprehensive, like I said earlier, in regards to this game than I was Newport game. And I think, like that, what you said, Rashford, it's just written in the stars for him to come off the bench, isn't it, to score either way. Yeah. So hopefully he won't let us down tomorrow. I'm losing me trying to in regards to the days on Thursday.
It is Thursday night league games are just ridiculous. God,
we'll be in work again, so...
Yeah. Wolves, I think I was last season we beat Wolves at the very end of the season 2-0. Garnacho scored in the last minute. That was the first time we'd beaten Wolves, or any game between us and them since they came back up in 2018 had a team had won by more than one goal. There's never been more than 3 in any of the games. It's always just miserable and negative.
So force for everything on Thursday night.
Exactly, yeah.
We'll put 5 on them. But anyway, on that we'll leave the delusion away for one night, and hopefully United can get a result for us, because it's been a while since we've had a nice league review. But anyway, thanks a million, gents.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for all the comments, everyone. No worries.